Hello, my name is Stacy Coleman, and I have a son named Joshua Coleman who has Down syndrome and autism and acute behaviors.
Hi, my name's Shannon, and I have a daughter, Finley. She's 11 years old. She has Down syndrome.
Hi, my name is Harriet Watson. I'm the mother of Sean, who's 9 years old, and he has Down syndrome.
Hi there, I'm Jennifer Hansen, and we have a son that's 6 years old, and he's on the autism spectrum.
We actually did find out when we first moved here that there was this large church less than half a mile away, and we weren't sure of if it was going to be able to handle our son, because my oldest son with his autism and his needs, he's very destructive, very large meltdowns. It makes for a lot of anxiety and stress, and we don't want to put that burden on other people.
He did VBS, and literally it has changed our lives.
She wants to attend every Sunday. She gets up, gets ready, and she loves coming here. It is a place that I know Finley's safe. She isn't always verbal, and sometimes when you have a child that's not verbal, when they are put with somebody, you don't know how their day went, or who they spoke with, or what they spoke about. But I know when we come here, Finley's in a safe environment. She's loved. I know it's about an hour out of an entire week, but that's that hour that I get to go on my spiritual journey with God.
The beauty about this ministry is that Sue has paired Sean up with a couple of different buddies that really work to understand Sean. His speech is very unclear, and it's often worrisome as a parent to leave him in a public situation. It makes us feel very comfortable being in worship, that he's being taken care of, that they work to understand him and to care about his needs and to take care of his needs, and that he can be a blessing to others. I would just say to any other family that has a child with special needs to come give this place a shot. It has meant the world to our family. It makes a huge difference to be able to participate in worship and service, and to not to have to worry about Sean, and to know that he is being filled and he is also impacting other children with his gifts that God has given him.
They really go the extra mile at Stillwater for families of kids with disabilities. We're just very grateful. We thank God for this church and for this ministry.
I was absolutely blown away about the connection that we had and what they were willing to do so I can attend church. I had not attended a service without having to chase Joshua up and down the aisles without any help at all. If you all out there have people that you know that are searching for a place to have a special needs child, I truly hope that you would invite them out to church, because we have a place for everyone. The special needs ministry at Stillwater is absolutely incredible, and it is a blessing from God.
Morning, Stillwater. Can I hear an amen after that video? That is your church. That is your church welcoming people with special needs to come and worship and experience God's love. That's awesome. My name is Scott, as Sue said. I work at a place called Echoing Hills, which is a ministry and program for adults and children with special needs. We serve folks in Dayton, Ohio, around Ohio, and in West Ghana, Africa. And I'm excited to be here. I've been working with folks with disabilities for the last 30 years. I've worked with families and people with autism and Down syndrome and cerebral palsy, folks that suffer from mental illness, and I'm here to tell you that no matter where I go, people want the same thing. They want a place of belonging, a place of acceptance, a place of love, and a place for yes, they do. Amen? Amen? I'm not sure what that was. Lord, okay. Yes, stick to an hour and a half today, Scott. Not 2 hours like last night. An hour and a half. But Sue came and asked me to speak just for about 20 minutes or so. I planned to have a PowerPoint and a presentation and something really slick, and God said, no, don't do that. You just come and speak from the heart and let His Spirit guide you, Scott. So I'm looking forward to hearing what I'm going to say today, because I have no idea. But when I met Sue, we sat down for lunch. She was introduced to me by another person that goes to your church here. And as soon as I started talking to Sue, I knew that our hearts were knitted together, that we had the same passion for helping folks with disabilities belong and be connected. And she shared with me the brochure on your Special Friends Ministry, and the mission is this: to ensure that all families feel loved, accepted, and supported at Stillwater Church. That's my mission. That's my desire. And I'm seeing it already in the short amount of time that I'm here, how much you love and care for people. You know, I'm going to start off in kind of a strange way. It will have a point and you'll see it. But I want to start with a question for you, then I'm going to tell you a little story. The first question I have for you: did anybody in this room, and it is a good-looking room in here. You guys are very good-looking, you know that? Anybody in this room grow up on a farm? Raise your hand. All right, we have a few folks that grew up on a farm. Okay, very good. I did not grow up on a farm. Okay, I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was in a big city. I never stepped foot on a farm. I've never seen a cow up close, okay? You know, I don't know anything about a farm, but God has a sense of humor. So when I went to college at Miami University, I met a young lady that grew up on a farm in just north of here in Darke County. Do you ever hear of Darke County? Okay, the Darke County Fair, the best fair in the state of Ohio. Ever hear of Arcanum, Ohio? Oh my goodness. This young lady, her name is Renee. Just so you know, she is my wife now, okay? But she grew up on this farm. And the first time I met her, in the dining hall of Miami University, she was there getting a soft serve ice cream, and all of a sudden, the world stood still. And it was in slow motion. She was getting this ice cream, okay, and there must have been a wind machine on her hair because her hair was blowing, okay? And I was going, oh my goodness, look at her. And I said, you know, in the first 3 minutes, I knew that was the woman I was going to marry. It took her 3 years to figure that out. But I wore her down. But I became friends with her. And we had a group of friends that hung out together, you know, college folks. She had a bunch of girlfriends. I had some good friends. And she, before we ever were dating, she invited the whole group up to her family's farm to go to the Darke County Fair. So I planned to ask her out on a date during that weekend at the Darke County Fair. So we go up there and we go to the farmhouse, and I meet her sisters for the first time. I meet her mom, who will one day be my mother-in-law, and her father, who will be my father-in-law one day. And her mom comes out of the back utility room of the farmhouse and starts talking about that she had to do a lot of canning that day. I had no idea what canning was, okay? I thought that she was the CEO of a big company, and they were downsizing, had to lay people off, can them, okay? And I said something of that sort, like you need to fire people today, and she looked at me like I was crazy. And then Charlie, my future one-day father-in-law, says, hey, which one of you boys wants to go get my pickup truck behind the barn? Who do you think raised their hand? I do, sir. I wanted to impress, you know, Renee. Okay, and he hands me the keys. I go back there. I get in the truck, and I realize that it's a stick shift. The city boy doesn't drive a stick shift. So I had to walk the long walk of shame back. And hey, imagine this. And hand this man the keys and say, sir, I cannot drive a stick shift. He looks at me and my future father-in-law. The very first words he ever says directly to me is, says, you can't drive a stick shift. What are you, a pansy? It's not going so well, okay? I find out that Renee was in the 4-H. I didn't know what the 4-H stood. It's some farm thing. I don't know. 4-H, 1H must stand for help because I needed some help. I find out that she, in the 4-H, shows steers at the county fair. I had no idea what a steer was. It's a big cow, I guess, okay? And you show it at the fair. And I thought, how do you show it at the fair? Here it is, okay? And we all drive up to, and this has a point, I promise, this whole story. I drive up to we're in the barn, okay? I'm getting ready. The steer's ready for the show, okay? And Peggy, future mother-in-law, says, which one of you guys wants to help get the steers ready for the show? My second mistake, I raised my hand. As soon as I raised my hand, my future bride's two sisters start cracking up laughing. I soon realized why, because Peggy hands me a jar of Vaseline-looking stuff. And I said, what do I have to do with that? She goes, you have to mousse the back of the steer's haunches, his hair, so it stands up like a flat top, because the judge judges the steer better if the haunches are square. So I'm in the back of a steer putting mousse on his hair, and I'm serious, okay? I want to win this thing, okay? And then she hands me a bottle of hairspray. I go, what do I do with that? You have to tease the tail of this 2,000-pound cow into a little ball like a poodle. I'm not looking too studly. The show starts. It's in a big barn. There's people at bleachers like a football game. I can't understand it. And they're showing these steers, and there's 8 young ladies walking these steers around in the circle, and the judge is looking at them. They all have a little stick like a golf club poking their foot, trying to get it to stand right. And I see this, and I'm going, oh, my goodness. And then Renee's steer, Baxter, starts pulling away from her, the halter. I don't know if they make that noise, but I remember it that way. Okay, and it's getting loose, and she can't really hold on to it. She's a little tiny thing, and I'm thinking, what if the steer gets away and hurts her? Then I thought in my feeble 18-year-old madly in love with this woman mind that maybe this is my chance to redeem myself. And so I'm thinking if that steer gets away, I can jump out of the stands and save her. And I start to stand up. And my friend, thank goodness, starts to pull me down. Okay? And I don't know if I would have jumped or not, but as soon as I'm getting ready to spring, okay, the steer's pulling away, and Renee grabs the little stick that she has, and she goes, boom! And she bangs the steer right on the nose. As soon as she banged the steer did this. And stood perfectly still. In proper position, and I got scared. I didn't ask her out that weekend. It took 6 months for me to ask her out. But 33 years later, you know where that stick is? It's in the corner of my bedroom. And if I get out of line, she points to the stick, and I do this, and I do the dishes. And then after this, the whole point is, I'm getting to the point here, Sue, quickly. And then after this, after the show, later on, they're loading the steers up outside the showroom in this little barbed wire enclosure up into this truck, okay? And I'm kind of watching this, and the crowd's milling around. And one steer really does get away from its handler and busts through the barbed wire fence and starts running into the crowd. Everybody in the crowd runs, pew, 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 except one person. The city boy doesn't know to run when a 2,000-pound animal's coming at you. And it's running towards me, and everything is in slow motion as it comes towards me. And I hear my own heartbeat. Okay, and I'm getting there, and I hear from about 50 feet away the sweet, melodic voice of my one-day future bride. And she yells, run! Did you ever see Forrest Gump? Run, Scott, run! And I ran, and I got away, and the steer was caught. Everything was fine. But the point of the story is this. That very day, I learned something. There's a place where I belong. And the farm is not it. And I say that to you this morning because I think there's a place where we all belong. There's a place where folks with disabilities and their families belong. And I think it is my job and your job and the church's job, the big C, God's church from around the world, to put people with disabilities in their place. Now, normally that's a negative thing when somebody says, I want to put you in your place, right? But the place is not inherently negative. It depends on what place you want to put people in. And what we want to put people in with disabilities and their families is the place of honor, the place of respect, the place of love and support and acceptance, and the place of belonging to something much bigger than themselves. That's the calling. That's when I met with Sue across the table and learned about your church, is what I wanted to come and be part of and speak to. There's a saying, all's well that what? Ends well, right? That's wrong. Never say that again. It's not all's well that ends well. It's all's well that begins well. It begins with recognizing that all people have gifts to offer the world. All people. God says in the Psalms that he knew us in our mother's womb, knitted us together before the beginnings of the earth. Zach, who has his own ministry, has a master's of divinity, has a disability. He's going to be out front at the end. Walk up to him and talk to him. He'll have a tactile sign language interpreter to help you, but he has a gift to offer the world, a calling that he has. You know, I think that part of the church's job is to knock down barriers for folks to come and experience the living God. You know, there's a verse, a story in the Bible, it's a well-known story in the Gospels where Jesus is hanging out. And my picture of Jesus, when I imagine Jesus hanging out with people, loving people, laughing, being around people. And he was there, and he did all kinds of ministry, all kinds of work. But at this point in time, a bunch of little kids were running around. And they were running around trying to probably grab onto him and get his attention because they knew he was popular. People talked about him. They're running there. And what did Jesus, his friends, do? They said, hey, leave him alone. He needs to rest or he needs to do that. And what did Jesus say when his friends tried to keep the kids from him? He said, do not prevent the children from coming to me. And I think we can interpret that broadly where God says, do not prevent anybody from coming to me. And there are barriers, and I've talked to people with disabilities across this country, and oftentimes they don't feel accepted at church for a variety of reasons, okay? Because their child has some issues that causes them to be a little more loud, or have in what we call in the field behavioral challenges, like some folks on the video. And sometimes we need to just accept people and bring it in and figure out how we're going to do that. You know, sometimes there are physical barriers. Sometimes there's attitudinal barriers. Sometimes we just don't know that folks with disabilities are the same as us. They got stuff. You got stuff? Okay, we all got stuff we're dealing with. You know, the only time that Jesus really showed anger was when he flipped the tables in the temple. When he got upset because the merchants were selling animals and doves so that the people would buy those to sacrifice them before they could go into the temple. I think Jesus wasn't mad because they were selling stuff in the Bible. They were mad. He was mad because people thought it was necessary to buy those doves to sacrifice to have access to him. And that's what made him mad. Okay, and I think that God wants us to be upset, to get our dander up when folks with disabilities aren't accepted and aren't part of his house. His house. You know, I knew something special was about this church because it wasn't just about caring about people, about accepting people, but let's feel sorry for these people and make a special class for them. No, let's invite them in and be part of it. You guys do a Habitat for Humanity build. every year. I guess the last couple years, Sue has. Who did the Habitat for Humanity build? Anybody in this room? Okay, lots of people. You guys invited some folks with disabilities to come out to be part of that. We weren't quite sure how we could do part of that, so Sue and I talked, and some other folks, Mindy or Marie, and we said, we'll come out and kind of give some refreshments away, some Gatorade, and kind of be part of it. And we were doing that, and folks were coming up to us, and we had folks in wheelchairs. We're going out delivering the water, and it was fantastic. And then a gentleman comes up to me and starts talking to me, and he may be in the room today. I don't know. Can't quite remember what he looks like. He's a good-looking guy, but so is any good-looking guys in here? Raise your hand. Okay. And he says, "This is awesome that you are here today. This is fantastic." He goes, "We want you to come back next year." I thought, that's nice. Oh, he's a nice man. He goes, "But we're going to do something different next year. We're going to come and we're going to build a platform so we can raise up the frames so the people that you work with in disabilities can hammer and help build, because they can't reach it now when they're on the ground." So he was going to devise something special so that our folks with disabilities could have an intimate involvement in building homes for people. He understood that it's our job to help folks with disabilities be co-laborers with us in God's Great Commission. That spoke to me more than anything spoke to me in quite a long time. That he understood that it's our job to serve alongside folks with disabilities, to allow them to figure out how to support them and being part of the ministry. I think the church has committed the great omission in omitting people with disabilities and serving alongside of that. They are part of the Great Commission. You guys don't know how good you are. How good you are. I just got a few more things to kind of talk about, and we're going to have another video here. But the image I get of ministry is kind of like a puzzle. Has anybody ever put a puzzle together? Okay, anybody like these 500-piece puzzles, these 1,000-piece puzzles? Okay, I will pray for you. Okay, I cannot stand these things. Okay, but my daughters, my 3 girls, love puzzles. And we were little, they would put these 1,000-piece puzzles together, and it was great. And we'd get there, we'd work on it for days on the big kitchen table. My wife would be upset because she couldn't have dinner out there, but I said, "Let's get pizza. You don't have to cook." She said, "Okay, that's great. Okay, let's do some more puzzles." And so we're doing all this kind of stuff. And then my daughters, though, they would get fanatic about putting the last piece in, and they would fight. If you have kids, you got to get that last piece in. "Oh, no, I got to do it. You did it last time. I'm oldest. I'm youngest. I'm in the middle." Okay, you know how that goes. And then we're doing this one day, and we got the last puzzle piece, and I said, "Okay," I remember we took turns. "Okay, now it's Katie's turn to put the last piece in." Okay, and she goes, "Okay, we'll do it." And they start looking for that last piece. And guess what happens? They can't find it. Okay, and I said, oh well, guys, it's time to bed. Let's go up and brush your teeth." What did they say? "No, Dad, we got to find it." Then they start looking for it. Okay, where do you think they looked for it? Everywhere, right? They looked under the puzzle piece, right? They looked in the box underneath. They started to look on the floor. They're crawling around. They're looking in places where it can never be ever found, right? But they got the flashlight, and they start deducing things like, well, maybe if it fell off the table and hit the box we have there, it flipped off there, went at a 60-degree angle, hit Dad's pant leg, slid down, and went to the, they're doing this stuff, and they're crazy. But why are they so crazy looking for that last piece? Because the puzzle, what? Is not done till you play that last piece. When I think of the church and the ministry and God's calling on people's lives, I think of it like that. I think God is saying, everybody has a piece to play, church. Everyone has a piece to play, including folks with disabilities and their families. They want to be co-laborers, to have a purpose in life, to be able to serve, be part of something, invite them to be part of that. You have an opportunity to be part of that today. We're going to share right now just a little bit it's a 3-minute video about some of your current folks here that serve in your disability ministry. Then I'll come back up and do a little bit of more chatting.
Special Friends to me is just building a relationship with a child, and it's just giving the family the ability to just go and worship on a Sunday morning, and that little bit of time, that little bit of time that I can give, just absolutely gives somebody the ability to attend worship and just to be able to be part of the Stillwater Church family.
The impact on the families is enormous because Finley's mom is so grateful it brought them back to church. They weren't welcome anywhere. You know, some of these children are loud, and people just don't like that. So here, she was able to, not only herself, but her whole family has come back to church. And it's all because of Finley being in the special needs program. So it's brought more people back to God, and I think that's the biggest blessing of all of this.
Well, I got involved in the Special Friends Ministry my freshman year of high school when it very first began. I don't even think we really had a name yet. And I got involved because it's always been a passion of mine. Through growing up, I've just noticed that it's something that God has put on my heart for me to work with people with special needs.
Well, I believe that every day God gives me joys, and in return, my responsibility is to give praise and to serve. And a teeny way I can do that is by being a buddy to my special friend, and that gives me additional joy, and it's quite a blessing to me personally.
I've learned that there are things that I can do that I would not have believed that I was capable of. I think that there is a care that I have. There's a spot in my heart that I didn't know that I had for the Special Friends.
Showed me that this is where I belong, and that this is what I need to be doing for him.
I think we've learned more compassion,
yes,
and understanding, and just the sheer joy of being with them.
Feeling that I get when you just see the smile on Joshua's face, when you see the smile on his mom's face, I can't explain the feeling. It's just a feeling of that I'm in the right place.
I have gotten the opportunity to hear some testimonies from the families, and so I know for a fact that God is working in their lives along with the buddies.
It's all about inclusion and, family and fellowship with each other, and that, we just all need to be there for each other too.
There's more and more special needs children that are coming. Families are coming to our church just because of the special needs program.
Anybody would be a good volunteer.
Anybody on any walk of life or any training or anything that they do would qualify them to just come in and love on a child and to watch a child on Sunday morning for just a little bit of time, to give somebody the ability to worship for that 1 hour every single week.
I think this is a tremendous program. I think it is a blessing for a lot of families. It was a blessing for me to find it.
I feel that God's got his hand in this ministry, and he's got great plans. I just am waiting to see how it expands.
Give it a shot. If not, if you're kind of on the edge for it, give it a shot. I mean, God could call you to this, and you may not even know. He equips the people that he calls.
Yeah. I want to end a little bit different than I did last night. I want to tell you one last quick story I think God wants me to tell you, and then I think we're having a worship song and an offering. I'll tell you a quick story. It'll take about 2 minutes about my hero. It's a little boy named Timmy. Timmy is 7 years old. He's in the first grade. Comes home from school one day and he tells his mom, he says, "Mom, tomorrow is Valentine's Day at school. We're having a Valentine's Day party, and I want to make Valentines for all the kids in my class." His mom says, "That is great, Timmy. That is awesome." And he says, "Mom, get out the class list." And she gets out the list. There's 23 names in all, and they get out the glue and the construction paper, and Timmy starts making these Valentines. As he makes one, he crosses a name off the list: Susie and Tommy and Bobby. And as they're doing this, Mom's a little bit worried. She's afraid because she knows her son Timmy is not too popular at school. She knows that the kids make fun of him on the playground because one of his legs is a little shorter than the other one, and he kind of gallops when he runs, and they tease him and call him horsey. She knows he's not getting his reading words right in the first grade. He has to go out to the reading interventionist, and they call him SPED for special ed. She's afraid he's going to make all these Valentines and not get many in return and be crushed. But she's a good mom. She goes and helps him, and he makes everyone. You know, then there's Tara and Sue and Marie and John, one by one. He gets 23 names in all. It takes him 2 hours to make them all. Seals them in an envelope, puts a little sticker on them, asks Mom for a shoebox so he can put them all in there in a rubber band. It's 10:30 at night when he finally finished them all, and he goes to bed. Mom can't sleep. She's just praying, please, Lord, if he just gets a couple, he'll be okay. Nowadays, don't they make him give everybody Valentines at school? He'll be all right. She goes to bed. Timmy's up early the next morning. He has his breakfast. He takes his little shoebox full of Valentines and goes off to catch the school bus. Mom is off that day. It's a long day because she's fretting all day long, thinking he's going to get any Valentines. She plans his favorite thing for dinner that night, in case he's upset. Macaroni and cheese and SpaghettiOs. Never gets them both. Tonight he's getting them both. Okay, at about 3 o'clock, she's pacing, looking out of the farmhouse, the bay window to see when he's coming up. Bus usually drops him off at 3 o'clock. It's 3:05, 3:10. The bus is late. Finally, at 3:15, her one and only child gets off the bus and starts walking up the front walk to the front door. She looks out, trying to judge how he's feeling by his face and expressions. She can't tell. His face is like stone. But there's no shoebox coming back. It's not a good sign. Timmy opens up the shoebox, opens up the door to his mom, looks at her, and he says, "Not a one, Mom. Not a one." Her heart is breaking for her son. And she says, "Come here, my child." And he walks towards her. And for the second time, he says, "Not a one, Mom. Not a one." Her heart is indeed breaking now. She gets down on her knees and says, "Come here, my child." And he runs towards her, and she clutches him to her chest. And he looks up at her with his big puppy dog brown eyes and says for the final time, "Not a one, Mom. Not a one." I didn't forget a single one. I gave every boy and girl in my class a Valentine, and they were happy, and they were loved. And he said, "What's for dinner?" And he skipped off to go play his Game Boy. Timmy knows the secret of life. It's not getting what you get. It's giving and loving other people and not forgetting a single one. Stillwater doesn't forget a single one. You love all people, and I thank you for that. Thank you. Let's worship.
Special friends to me is just building a relationship with a child, and it's just giving the family the ability to just go and worship on a Sunday morning. And that just that little bit of time, that little bit of time that I can give, just absolutely gives somebody the ability to attend worship and just to be able to be part of the Stillwater Church family.
The impact on the families is enormous because Finley's mom is so grateful it brought them back to church. They weren't welcome anywhere. You know, some of these children are loud. And people just don't like that. So here, she was able to not only herself, but her whole family has come back to church. And it's all because of Finley being in the special needs program. So it's brought more people back to God. And I think that's the biggest blessing of all of this.
Well, I got involved in the Special Friends Ministry my freshman year of high school. When it very first began, I don't even think we really had a name yet. And I got involved because it's always been a passion of mine. Through growing up, I've just noticed that it's something that God has put on my heart for me to work with people with special needs.
Well, I believe that every day God gives me joys, and in return, my responsibility is to give praise and to serve. And a teeny way I can do that is by being a buddy to my special friend And that gives me additional joy, and it's quite a blessing to me personally.
I've learned that there are things that I can do that I would not have believed that I was capable of. I think that there is a care that I have, there's a spot in my heart that I didn't know that I had for the special friends.
Showed me that this is where I belong and that this is what I need to be doing for him.
I think we've learned more compassion and understanding and just the sheer joy of being with them.
Feeling that I get when you just see the smile on Joshua's face, when you see the smile on his mom's face, I can't explain the feeling. It's just a feeling of that I'm in the right place.
I have gotten the opportunity to hear some testimonies from the families, and so I know for a fact that God is working in their lives along with the buddies.
It's all about inclusion and, family and fellowship with each other, and that, we just all need to be there for each other too.
There's more and more special needs children that are coming. Families are coming to our church just because of the special needs program.
Anybody would be a good volunteer.
Anybody on any walk of life or any training or anything that they do would qualify them to just come in and love on a child and to watch a child on Sunday morning for just a little bit of time, to give somebody the ability to worship for that 1 hour every single week.
I think this is a tremendous program. I think it is a blessing for a lot of families. It was a blessing for me to find it.
I feel that God's got his hand in this ministry, and he's got great plans. I just am waiting to see how it expands.
Give it a shot. If not, if you're kind of on the edge for it, give it a shot. I mean, God could call you to this and you may not even know. He equips the people that he calls.